I am here in studio tonight with my good friend Craig Dawkins, who is guest co-hosting once again. We have a big show lined up tonight, and we're going to dedicate most of this show to this issue. And the issue at hand is a facility known as Narconon International, that is Narconon Arrowhead, actually, that is in Canadian Oklahoma. And this facility is getting a lot of overdue attention, I believe, at the moment, because there has been 3 deaths in quick succession, 3 of them in 9 months. There was another death a couple years prior to that of young people at that facility. And, of course, this is drawing a lot of attention. Stacy Murphy, 20 years old of Owasso, died at the facility on July 19th. I've got these people's pictures in front of me, and they're all young, beautiful people. Gabrielle Gates, 32 years old, from Owasso as well, died at Narconon Arrowhead on October the 26th. Hillary Holton, lovely young lady, 21 years old, of Carrollton, Texas, died April 11th of 2012. And the last one is Casey Diane Warnick. She's 28 years old, died March 3rd, 2009. And I have a good friend of mine that, as long as I've known him, since probably about, 2008, has been telling me about his experience at this facility. It was not a pleasant one. And he has been, for the last couple of years at least, desperately trying to get the attention of officials in Oklahoma, because he has grave concerns about this facility. He's going to be with us tonight. We're also going to have David Edgar Love from Montreal, who knows a whole lot about Narconon. And I should add that Narconon, the drug rehabilitation facility, is in fact a front group for Scientology. This is another issue. Some of their methods are less than medically acceptable, and there's just a whole lot of issues with Narconon Arrowhead, Narconon in general, and it being a front group for Scientology. I think you had a little definition there, Craig, of Scientology for people that don't know.
Yeah, I thought, because so many people don't have any idea what it is, and of course David Love will come on, and he's the expert on Scientology, and he'll really blow our socks off on the details of this. But here's the rough outline of Scientology. It is a body of beliefs, according to Wikipedia, and related practices created by L. Ron Hubbard, who started in 1952 as a successor to his earlier self-help system, Dianetics. And I remember when Dianetics was a big book.
I remember seeing that book everywhere.
People were handing it out and saying, well, if you're depressed, you need to read this book. And even doctors were handing it out at that time. Hubbard characterizes Scientology as a religion. Mm-hmm. Now, as it turns out, it took a while for Scientology to reach that status. But when they did, of course, then people could donate money tax-free or tax-exempt. They could take it off their taxes, which, of course, opened doors to that, as well as Narconon and other types of programs that are able to operate under a religious exemption,
or
if you will.
Faith-based,
right?
What have you.
Right.
Let me see. We have got just a few minutes before we get a break. And in that time, I want to give you a little bit of insight into my good friend Colin Henderson, like I said, who has been very active on this issue and has gotten some great things accomplished with exposing this organization. I've got a letter from Colin that I know that he sent out to many, many officials, and this was back in 2011. I'm sure that he had efforts before that, but I think that some of the letter will give you a little insight into him. Dated February 2011, this is from Colin Henderson, sent out to a variety of news organizations and officials in Oklahoma. Colin says, I'm writing this letter in concern for the psychological harassment, fraud, and indoctrination being practiced by Narconon Arrowhead drug rehabilitation program. He says, I'm attempting to expose Narconon. I firmly believe in the laws of our land and support them wholeheartedly. However, I do not believe in turning a blind eye and a deaf ear to any organization that is infringing on human rights violations for the sake of special interests, that this is not justified in any way. I do not believe it is right for any drug rehabilitation program to prey upon vulnerable minds for the sake of recruiting. The Narconon program is about as unsafe as you can get mentally and physically. I'm sick and tired of standing by and watching Narconon get away with what they've been doing for years. I'm skipping through this letter a little bit. Colin notes that I just learned that my brother-in-law was offered the Narconon program as a plea bargain through the Oklahoma court system. This action shows state support of the Narconon program, which is a big issue here, I would add. Colin goes on to say, and he does have an essay that details his experiences at Narconon Arrowhead in 2007. If you go to AxiomForLiberty.com, that's Axiom with 2 X's. You can read that. There's a link there. You can read about his experiences. Colin goes on to say, after I wrote my essay regarding my personal experience with the Narconon program, I put the issue behind me and continued my rehabilitation. On October 27, 2010, I received an email from a family in Philadelphia regarding their daughter that they had just rescued from a Narconon Vista Bay after having problems with their Narconon family counselor, which led the family to dig a little deeper into what was going on at Narconon. And this is where they found Colin's story along with many others. Colin goes on to say, and I think this gives you some insight with him. Like he said, he went on about his business, put the whole matter behind him, and this family contacted him. Colin writes in his letter, after talking and praying with this family, the Lord gave me a simple reminder. Have nothing to do with the fruitless deeds of darkness, but rather expose them. It is shameful to even mention what the disobedient do in secret, but everything exposed by the light becomes visible, and everything that is illuminated becomes light. Ephesians. And on that note, we will be back in just a moment to find out more. Before we went to break, I was reading to you from a letter written by my good friend Colin Henderson. Like I mentioned earlier, he has been trying desperately to get the attention well before the recent spate of deaths